Okay, it's later in the afternoon. I know this won't be quite this shaded as summer comes along, but I think I'm still going to have Paul take down some of these lower branches of that spruce. Big Norwegian spruce is just getting bigger. So I'm back out at it. This video is for Sean. He said that I needed to get a whole full shot of the yard, so there'd be the before and after. So I'm gonna do that real quick before I get to work. So there's the weed block. It worked great, but you have to buy these little stakes separate to hold it in. So this row here we're looking at is 6 foot, probably by 12 to 14. Now this side of the U, the top of the, or the bottom of the U shape, is going to extend out a little further. Paul still needs to till it. I put these stakes here, but this is actually going to come out. But this is where the tomatoes are going to go, along this ridge. And something I've noticed is, I choose this part of the yard because everything is so lush and green here. Those old holly branches that Paul just tossed there, but they're going to have to go about 10 feet back towards the fence. So this is actually a huge yard, but right here is where last year the failed sewer company, can't really tell, but there, it's quite a, there used to be an old cistern on this property, and not a cistern, but I don't know what you call it, kind of like an old cesspool. Well, both start with the sound S. So anyway, coming from the house, and so at some point above where that circle is right there, and that right there, they branched off to put the new septic. So right here everything grows very lush, and right here where the garden is, everything grows very lush. Paul's going to put a rod down. Last year the septic guys didn't mess with this area, or when they did probe, I think they were afraid of stepping in the garden. And I was out here. Probably if I wasn't out here, they probably would have just stepped in it. But anyhow, we're just looking for the top. We're just looking for the little lid thing for access. So if it's under here, it won't be a big deal. If I have to move a plant, I have to move a plant. But today I'm putting the weed block down here. It's 6 feet by 33 feet. So I'll cut off the excess on the end, and whatever's left on the ends, I've got 2 of them. So I've got, 2 6 feet by 33 seed block plants. I still want to put some there in this middle strip where is going to be for a walkway. I thought about planting it and just walking on the boards, but though I can probably still walk a curb without falling off, standing on one and constantly bending over to the garden is not comfortable my age. So this way I have a walk area. I'm going to cover it in gravel. I'm going to put some weed block down. I'm going to cover it in gravel or mulch, and that way I can reach 3 feet in from either side of this, 3 feet in from either side of this. So this is going to be peas and broccoli along the back side. I'm going to do tomatoes and squash over there. Going to do cucumbers and then green beans. And then where that square is where I usually, camp out in the yard with the cat. I may not do anything, but I think I'm going to kind of spread out little circle plots or squares for sunflower seeds. So let's go to the front garden so you can see what it looks like before, because I can't just keep stopping and filming. That's a hard thing I've found about doing videos on my own, that it takes so much time to film anything decent without someone helping you film. I mean, I have a tripod and all that kind of crap, 2 different phones to use. I have a version of a GoPro, which I have a mount for the head and everything, but it just doesn't seem to be functioning the way I want it to, but we'll see. So I'm just using my iPhones, and let's see if it'll let me spin it sideways. All right. So here's the front garden. There's a tree that is still up. Paul hasn't finished on. Here's a pile of brush Paul hasn't finished on, which if it wasn't so close to the electrical lines, I'd just set all this shit on fire. And I may still, when it's like wet, when it's not going to be a hot fire, but I want him to cut it in large enough pieces that I'm going to use a few of these to make a bench out by the vegetable garden, level it off, and I may just use them as the base, and then use probably a few 2x6s to make a bottom and a back. But a lot of this stuff just needs to be burned off, which I may just burn it off right here. We're not in a burn ban right now, and we're supposed to have some rain tomorrow, so I may be setting fire to a whole bunch of shit this week. But this is where the garden's at. I've moved most of it off the sidewalk, but it's been so cold and icy, and my back can only handle so much. But so there is the, oh my god, little tree thing, crepe myrtle. So you can see we've already got a lot of the Dutch imported tulips coming up along here. I should have thinned them better this fall, but I just didn't do it. I was still dealing, when it was fall, dealing with a broken leg, and so black and white, and there's a few coming up there, and pale pink tulips will be coming up in this area, plus the allium. So I'm trying to be careful where I step. Need to do some weeding. There we go. The little daffodils are already popping up, but I've got a lot I need to take care of here. And which this didn't get mowed or messed with after the tree falling. Okay, got a bunch of tulips coming up there, so this is all going to get cleaned up. That's chaos. And I thought that this sage had all died, but look, it's still alive. These azaleas, they're making little buds on the end, so I'm only hoping. I try not to cut them back or do anything until I see how they're going to progress. Like this one's broke, but look, got a little bud on it. So we'll see. This, of course, is all grass around it, and it'll get mowed out. I need to cut down some of the rosemary that's just old. Roses are starting to put on their little buds. So this is where the flower garden is at right now. It looks pretty sad and pathetic. Here are the Spanish bluebells are starting to come up. Usually by this time, I don't know if I can say usually, but I wanted to get out here and get more of this cleaned out. Here is a big daylily starting to come up. But because we've had this crazy weather and these, we've had these warm days, but then we've had these absolutely, stretches of 3 or 4 days of super freezing nights and, wet and cold. And I just kind of left all this underbrush and all the ugliness as for insulation. It's just a little bit of protection against the frost and all that good stuff. Wild strawberries. They're just so invasive here. They're everywhere. I feel like I never get to stop pulling them out. But anywho, that's kind of where we're at. I had taken the big square border out of this last year. I'm going to level this out a little bit. Right now I'm standing somewhere where there's not bulbs, but you can see a daylily. Chaos, man. Starting to come up under this stuff. And luckily the stuff's all dry and dead and very lightweight, so it's not hindering any of the bulbs coming up. Those little guys are so strong. So I haven't seen the white lily that got crushed. Guess I'm on some little plant. Coming up, but they don't come up as early as the tulips. So these are the big white tulips with purple stripes. Yes, They're just so variegated, I can't even think of their name anymore. I used to remember the names of everything, but I have them written down, but not to joke about dementia or Alzheimer's, because, you know, so I lost my aunt and my mother, and I think my grandfather had a little bit. But this is where the lilies, hopefully they'll come back. But look, more tulips. This is where I thinned out tulips and planted just, you know, 2 or 3 bulbs, not real close together, hoping that they would come back. And cows don't stand on the bulb. I guess plants are used to animals, but so you can see that they're coming up under all this tall grass that died. And this tall grass was left because I couldn't get to any of it to mow because of all this stuff. And of course I used the push mower up front around this garden, and I broke it, so, or it just needs resharpening and something done to it. But now this here is nice green grass all hidden under here, so I'm gonna give this a good raking with the leaf rake so as not to damage stuff. But this is part of my project for this afternoon after I plant the peas. But you see we've got tulips coming up. This spot right here, though indescript as it looks right now, will be full of those deep wine red lilies. I thinned them out so I can't remember where I put some of them at. So maybe this summer's garden will be full of surprises. But anyway, this just really needs some cleanup and a little bit of weeding. Now we're supposed to get a lot of rain tomorrow, so I'm going to try to get as much done today as possible, but I'm not going to kill myself because it's already been a back killer trying to get all that leveled out on the other side of the yard. But grass still needs to green up a bit. This field over there is nice and green, and I believe that's wheat. Though I don't believe this country's wheat crop's supposed to do that well this year. Turning it. But anyway, Sean, here's your before video. And oh look, there's my little maple. But yeah, this tree has gotten bigger. But then again, usually this time of day in the summer, the sun is much more towards where I'm standing. And it comes at the garden from the angle that we're looking at it now. So, you know, as we get closer into summer, that tree may not be as much of an issue. It does late in the afternoon when it's really super hot shade this area, which I don't have a problem with that, because on this side of the garden, I'm going to start the cooler crops, and then when they're done, well, there's going to be flowers all in between them all. Nasturtium and marigolds and all kinds of stuff that the bugs don't like, which is also a good deterrent. It's often good to plant those kind of flowers with your garden because it'll help deter bugs and certain caterpillars, and you don't need to use chemicals. But I will have a vinegar, an all-natural vinegar organic spray to help fight any bugs and annoyances, but this is where we're at. So I'm saying 6 by 12. So we've got about 20 feet across right now. Yeah, it's about 20 feet across from there to there. And then it's going to be probably about 25 feet, you know, from end to end. But that's not counting so it's fairly leveled out. Well, a few little bitty weeds and grass doesn't matter because the weed block will kill it. What I'm standing in front of now will be the mint. And the mint patch is probably from where those flags are to where I am now. So it's about 5 by 8. And then along here, on each side of this big pole that fell 8 years ago, I am going to do okra, because this part of the yard is in sun from morning to night. So I'll be able to either walk on this or straddle it, and on each side of me will be okra. And if we go ahead and get the chickens, which Paul's worried about price and everything's so expensive right now, I couldn't get any more wood, and I took apart what I had started, and this area is just pretty junky. I find it embarrassing, but you know, everybody has a corner of their yard, I guess. So the old small sailboat, the old tiller, which needs a new carburetor. This is where I keep a lot of my just stuff. See, it still works, but I pulled the cord out once, and it never went back in. I think Paul can fix that, but anywho, tomato cages, I'm going to use that square. I'll pull it out and use it for the herb bed. I think what I'm going to do with this old shed is I cut a bunch of this crap off of it. And if we get the chickens, if not, I'm not going to worry about it because it kind of hides it. It's kind of pretty. But if we do get the chickens, I'm going to, since it has double doors, I'm going to turn one half of it into the coop. Where this door will stay open all the time, but it'll be blocked off by hardware mesh, so that hardware cloth is really what they call it, so that there's good airflow. And if I have to, I'll cut a window in it. I don't have a problem with that because it does get kind of like a little easy bake oven in here. But it's old. I don't know how long it's been here. Probably for 15 years. I don't know. But it wouldn't be a problem to cut a hole in the side of it and then put hardware cloth there. But I'm going to use some pallets and just take it down here, probably about here, which is a little more, but yeah, about halfway, and then make that a coop, and then surround this area and kind of at an angle to the yard, an area for them to free roam, or go all the way this side of the okra and on that side of the fence and put up chicken wire and cut out the ivy, but because it's not good for them to eat it, which they don't usually want to eat it, but I just kind of let them forage this area. You know, they're going to find bugs and who knows what all kinds of crap, but you know, we got to clean some of this stuff out. This John Deere still runs, so it doesn't work as a mower, and we haven't used it, didn't use it all last year. Trying to get Paul to take the bottom deck off, and we'll just use it like a little tractor to pull stuff around. I'm going to collect some wood, and this is just where it's at. So it begins, and I've got to get to work before I run out of daylight, though it's, you know, the sun's staying up later now. It's not that the sun's staying up later, it's just that we've had the time change, which a friend of mine, Sean in particular, sent me a post about. The Senate has passed a bill where they want to end the fall time change, so we'll no longer fall backwards. So it just has to pass in the House. So hopefully it will, and we can just stay at this one time all the time. But anyhow, this part of the yard I'm just going to leave. It gets shaded by that tree come summertime, and probably from where the garden ends to the street is about 150 feet. Doesn't look like it, but yeah, so that'll be what I mow. The garden means I have more to weed, but it also means I have less to mow. So anyhow, I'm getting to work. Love you guys. Like, subscribe, and we'll watch the garden as it grows this year. The veggie garden and the potager flower garden up front. Bye, y'all.